Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Muller. I'm joined today by Nick Wiktorski from Omega Tools. Well, first off, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate being on the podcast.
Yeah. And so, we're glad to have you. So talk to us a little bit about your background. We always start with the career journey, right, of our founders. So just tell us a little bit about what, your career journey leading up to this.
Sure. So I am actually a college dropout. I left after 2 years at the University of Hartford. I just kind of figured I was ready to get out there and just try to make a name for myself instead of waiting. And so I jumped out a little early, and I was an insurance finance major with a minor in child psychology and somehow ended up in manufacturing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started right at the bottom of a company called Parlec Incorporated, which at the time was developing, building, designing tool holders, capital equipment, tool measuring machines, everything for the manufacturing world that is in conjunction with building parts or making parts. And in 2017, we had sold off half of the company, which would have been the tool holder, the commodity line, and we kept our capital equipment. And I've kind of stuck with them ever since. So we're going on 15 years now with what is now Omega, used to be Parlec Incorporated. And now we're kind of running the country in Canada with sales.
That's amazing. That's awesome. All right. So talk to me about Omega, like some of your product lines, who some of your customers are, and kind of the vision of and the growth of the company.
Sure. So Omega Tool Measuring Machines provides different solutions for the manufacturing world, specifically in metrology equipment. So we provide a machine that's going to take a tool assembly and it's going to measure it prior to running it inside of a work center so that you can cut down on your setup time. A lot of times in the manufacturing world, it's about speed, accuracy, efficiency, and reduced scrap metal. So in order to obtain that, the best way to do so is by taking all of your manufacturing measuring and putting that offline instead of putting it on a machine center that you paid millions of dollars in some cases to make chips, and now you're wasting time measuring tools. Right. On top of that, we can be more efficient by measuring it offline by reducing the amount of wear that your tools are going to have because our measurements are within a micron or less of accuracy. And on top of that, we are the only American-made manufacturing company that produces presetters and tool management data solutions so that we can support reshoring America again. That's the biggest goal, is to make sure that we bring stuff back and we can make it affordable and feasible, because a lot of the reasons why things get offshored into China or to Europe, India, is because it's just, quite frankly, cheaper. And they have these technologies that they're using already, like automation, AI, and tool measuring machines, offline measuring, so that they can optimize their procedures. Over here in the States, we use a lot of software, CAM software, 3D models, CAD, so that we can figure out ideally where we need to be in the manufacturing process, but that can only get us so far. So what we do is kind of break it down at a 30,000 foot view and show you what is happening on the shop floor so you can be as efficient as possible.
Amazing. So talk to us about some of your clients. Right, because you're in a bunch of different industries, right? As I was looking, just to give us some ideas, because it's kind of amazing some of the things that you're doing.
It is. Growing up, you see all the name brands out there: the John Deeres, the Caterpillars, Ford, GM, even Collins, Boeing, and you hear of all these customers, General Dynamics, and you always wonder, like, I wonder how you can work with those guys one day. And sure enough, we do. I mean, we work with everybody from metal cutting to stone grinding to woodworking in every facet. As long as they are producing chips, either metal chips, wood chips, or stone grindings, then we can work with them. And so we have every customer that's big, small, from Fortune 500 to small businesses, where they're running one router or one one work center, to shops that have over 400 in one facility alone. We accommodate every single one of them. We have a slight leg up on our competition because with us being the only American-made manufacturers, it helps us, especially in the defense manufacturers, because are American. And so we don't have to worry about any issues with ITAR regulations and requirements because everyone that's employed here as an American is, a citizen of the USA. We make sure that we are a full American company in and out.
That's fantastic. Love that. I love that. And so, talk to us about some of the things that you're seeing in the industry or across industries, right? And some of the changes that you've seen, and then kind of where you think things are heading.
Sure. So the biggest change I've seen has definitely been in the workforce. We have been in the manufacturing world bleeding for some new young life. It's tough in this American manufacturing environment. You have more of mainstream media pushing people into white collar jobs. And quite frankly, manufacturing blue collar job. Like, I know I wear a white collar right now, but really I'm on shop floors all the time. We're in the thick of it, front lines. And it's tough to get people that want to get out there, and a shop that's, it might not be as clean as a office that's, you might do therapy sessions at or a doctor's office. It's going to be dirty. You have salt of the earth kind of people that work there, both men and women. It's a great group of people that really like to create things. And we forget often how, little things like this computer here that we're talking on right now, someone made this somewhere. It was manufactured somewhere. And that's what we're trying to show is that everything that you consume, that you use on a day-to-day basis is a part of the manufacturing world in some way or another. And to recognize that and to see that, hey, your purpose could be keeping this afloat, moving it forward, or growing it into what it could be. That should be what we're trying to push kids into, is having more pride in coming into this industry, because right now our growth issues have come down to, well, we're growing at a fast rate. We need to keep up with it with the personnel. It's hard to find people that want to get up and go travel or go out to different, customer sites, or just take the daily grind of the wear and tear of being in airports and being on the road. It's a different lifestyle that a lot of kids nowadays would rather just be home and not take that chance. So trying to drive kids to want to be something different, maybe go outside their element a little bit. I get it. Traveling's not for everybody, and that's fine. But there are shop floors that could use people that could, run a machine or engineer a new product line that could, help solve cancer or help people with, ailments that need medical devices. So there's a lot of ways that you can get into it. And we're just trying to show you that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to get into manufacturing too.
Yeah, well, you bring up so I go a couple different places with that. One is, do you see that problem starting to correct? Because one of the things is right now is that, to me, the trades and manufacturing are places that we're starting to hear more of, hey, this is something you need, you need an alternative to college or an alternative career path, because we need them and we're short. And this is not the first podcast we've done where it's a similar message that we need more young talent coming into these areas.
Yeah, there are great influencers out there like Mike Rowe, who is the host of Dirty Jobs, and he has his own. I don't know if it's a 501c3, but it's definitely a group that he started that's putting an emphasis on trade positions. Welders, pipe fitters, electricians, linemen, anything like that, operators for manufacturing machinery, anything out there. Letting someone know that, hey, look at, you could be a machinist and you can make, between 75 to over six figures just, running a machine nowadays. I mean, that was unheard of back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, that's just not a thing. And nowadays, we got to understand that you can have a really decent job doing a trade, because guess what? There aren't many positions out there available. Back when I was graduating from high school, they were telling us going into college, the number one job everyone's going to want to have and that there's a need for is accountants. Well, guess what? Everyone became accountants, and now they're trying to find out, well, what else can we do? Oh, well, there's a teacher shortage. Well, everyone became a teacher. Now there's not enough jobs. So no one really put an emphasis back in the day on, hey, we need to make sure we have manufacturing jobs available, because we're relying on this generation of people, the baby boomers, Gen Z, Gen X, and now they're all starting to retire, and there's no one backfilling that, especially in the tool making industry, where there's a lot of people who have been in this industry for 30 plus years with a bunch of campfire knowledge that's not being passed on to anybody. And we're trying, and
and
you
that's
can throw
sad and scary at the same time, right? Because
it is.
as you think about what AI can do and innovate, right? There's going to be more things, I think, that manufacturing needs to build than ever before, right?
Absolutely.
You think about just even building, when people talk about RPA and robotics, process automation, right? There's going to be more and more innovations in and around that. There's going to be more innovations in every industry that we have. So we're going to be building more, not less. And so
Correct.
I think what you're talking about is it's a bigger issue than even we're talking about right now.
It is. And when people talk about automation, what they have to realize is that the automation and AI doesn't necessarily replace a worker. It makes your job more efficient. And everything that you do with automation and AI will require some sort of physical human being to operate, program, manage it. It's not set up to just be self-sufficient on its own. Someone needs to operate it, manage it. And so within the last 4 years, we've done a couple automation projects. Because of NDAs, I can't name who they are, but they're very big customers. And they've spent millions of dollars on an automated cell that does one singular thing. Now, that one singular thing it's doing is going to be for the next 20 years. So that makes sense to set up an automated cell for that because, well, I don't want to have anybody, tied up with overhead costs and insurance, whatnot. Let's just have it run. And as long as you can feed it material, it'll produce parts. That's fine. But it's not for everybody as well because it kind of holds you into one process. So as there are going to be markets where, people say, hey, let's throw automation, and it might not be appropriate. Now that's where AI comes in because AI is another tool that can help optimize what you're trying to do. On our presetters, we actually have some AI technology. What we call it is our Echo Teach function. And what that does is it basically records all of your physical movements of capturing the data off the tool. It records it, compresses it down, and then it creates an automatic tool measuring routine against it. So that's one way that we can help the operators and the day-to-day users of our equipment is to make the ease of use simpler by simplifying the steps to get your end-all results, making it more, I guess, not more enjoyable for them and not as complex so that it steers them away from trying new things. Because a lot of times people think, AI, I'm going to lose my job. No, 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 no. We want to make you more efficient. We don't want you to go home stressed. We want you to be as productive as possible. Time is important. If I can have a software do some simple math for you or projections, forecasting, scheduling, as opposed to you spending 2 hours doing it and it can do it in 10 seconds, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah. And Nick, we call those digital coworkers. We totally agree, right? That AI right now, where it is it's meant to make good employees great, but by taking their some of their manual tasks, right, and freeing them up to do more important things.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So tell me a little bit about what, as you look down the road, how will AI data and automation continue to impact and hopefully accelerate some of these areas in a good way?
Sure. So the biggest push that the manufacturing industry has right now is the Industry 4.0 standard. Now, this is something that was established in the European Union, and it was a way to kind of stimulate manufacturing by putting more standardized practices in place for everyone to follow that would help optimize your manufacturing output. And what I mean by that is putting in more processes that are going to give you more of an overlook on what's happening, give you more control over data, exposure to data that you might not have had before. A lot of that stuff we've been doing for years. It's just, it has a cost associated to it. And trying to convince people and justify the cost is where we're at now. America's at a crossroads where we have to decide, do we want to invest in America or do we want to continue taking the shortcut and just offshoring it and then just reaping, the short-term benefits? Reshoring is not going to be an overnight thing. And I think everybody understands that. So what we're trying to do is let's start somewhere. Everyone keeps talking about, I remember back in 2008 when we were saying, oh yeah, we want to bring more stuff here. Well, it's 2025 and we're probably at the same rate we were before.
Right.
So what is it going to take? We see the government trying a tariffs approach. We're seeing, the state and local municipalities, they're trying different approaches for rebates or tax breaks, trying to stimulate something happen here. We're trying to bring semiconductor businesses here, and especially in my state of New York, Micron and different companies that have a lot of influence in that world. We're trying to bring it here. That's great. But at the end of the day, it's going to take all of us. If we have, the biggest company in the world that still decides, we don't need to do this, what good is it going to be? Because we need everybody on board. So as long as we can start somewhere, I feel like we'll be in a good spot moving forward. But this Industry 4.0 is basically supposed to give us more data collection so that we can see where we are most efficient, where we are least efficient, where are we losing time, where are we gaining more product outputs, what are we wasting money on? What should we be spending money on? At the end of the day, making money is great, but saving money is even better because it's money you didn't have, that you didn't allocate for anything, and now you can choose where you want to put it. I liken it to Doge right now in the government.
Yeah.
They're looking at ways that we can cut out fat. Let's trim the fat down and give it back in other areas that probably need it more. Well, that's what Industry 4.0 does. It just says, hey, look, we didn't know what was happening over here. We're going to give you a little insight to what is happening and then decide, hey, should we shift gears? Should we change up our operations? Should we put more emphasis over in this area than this one? And a lot of times it has to do with software integration, entering that data, maintaining it, and that's a lot of work. A lot of times for customers that just did everything from, what I call snail mail or paper trails, where everything is just written down and it's not in an electronic CRP system or ERP system, a CRM or ERP, excuse me. It's hard to calculate where you're at as a company. Numbers are fine on the books, but really seeing where, how much time does it take me to get this job done in reality? Well, right now with this process, this is what it is. But if I add in AI or automation or a cobot or something that can assist me, maybe I can cut that down in half. All right, well, that's making me more efficient. There's a good start.
And so, how is Industry 4.0? Like, is it a mandatory thing? How is it being adopted, right, and enforced and rolled out?
Sure. So AMT and SME are kind of I would say, the alliances we have in the manufacturing world. That if you're a part of that group, they will make sure that they inform you of all the new technologies that are out there, sharing information, best practices, whatnot. So Industry 4.0 isn't necessarily like an ISO standard or a NIST standard that's traceable. What it is it's a movement. That's what I like to call it. It's getting people to understand that there are ways that we can get better data than what we're already obtaining by looking at things a little differently, by taking the time to, instead of just moving on to the next task, record what just happened and log it so that we can go back to see what trends we're looking at. It also allows us to have full control in real time of where our shop floor jobs are at, where our location of tools are on the shop floor, who's using what parts in 2 weeks from now, in a week from now. Do I have enough safety stock? Do I have enough parts to make that? Do I have enough personnel to run it? Do I have the machines to run it? Whereas before it would just be, hey, we got to run this, figure out when you can put it in the schedule. No, now it's one of those in the morning, you come in, there's a screen on the shop floor that says, this is what this work center is running today at this efficiency, this speed, this rate, and these parts should come out at this productivity rate. And, okay, perfect. Now I know what I'm going to do, as opposed to just walking in and saying, how many parts can you get out today for me? I can probably get out, 30, maybe, depends. So
Amazing. And now, as you look down, so like I said, you're in a lot of industries that we talked about. Where do you see the opportunity? Like, where are the industries that you're keeping your eye on, right? As we look down the next couple of years.
Sure. So the biggest one right now is defense. The defense contractors, globally speaking, there is a shortage of ammunition, a shortage of missiles, a shortage of equipment that can launch any of those products. I mean, if just in general, the defense world is going to be gearing up because over the last couple of years, we've been really emptying out a lot of our arsenal, and now it's time to build it back up again. So defense is one of those where in trying times, they're always going to be there. They're always going to be producing because no matter what, you got to protect the world, even if you can't make the same amount of stuff you did before. But I would say defense and the medical device industry as well. Medical devices, with the average age of life expectancy just constantly going up. We're seeing more and more people that have surgeries, elective surgeries, with COVID being over and people going back to getting elective surgeries, hips, knees, you name it. I can see that industry is definitely going to be growing for us as well. And we can also see, too, that right now, the stone industry as well. During COVID, that they took a big boom because everybody had influxes of cash. They were trying to remodel their homes, remodeling their office space and whatnot. And that took a little bit of a lull, but we're starting to see more people do that again because they have the opportunity to invest. Now, it's getting tough with the supply chains being a little bit more expensive when it comes to builders and stone manufacturers, but At the end of the day, people are more worried about, I'm living in this house for how long? I want to make it look good. I'll find a way to make it work good. We'll find the
Yeah,
cash.
really cool, really cool. And so, you've touched on a bunch of areas in which how AI is influencing and making things better. Are there any other areas you see, whether it's with RPA or data or AI or automations, changing the industry, disrupting the industry? Because one of the things we always get on the podcast is, does anyone see where the disruptors are going to be coming from, and what opportunities can you know shake up the industry a little bit? Do you see any of that happening, or is that just at your client's level more?
I would say it's probably more at the client level than with us because most of what we do is still human based. We have guys that go out physically install our machines. I don't have a
Right.
robot that can go and do that. Where AI might help us would be if at some point down the line with our service line, if we could eliminate the need to have to talk to a physical human and we can have a way so that you ask certain questions, you provide certain data, and then it would know, oh, hey, you should probably look at this piece here, especially on our older equipment. We have
Yeah.
equipment that's 20, 30 plus years old, even older than that out there. In some cases, it would be more feasible to have an automated AI generated kind of voice talking to you, troubleshooting, rather than me tying up somebody that might be working on a machine that's a year old and they need to learn something new and hey, we got to learn it now, help me out. It might be better to have that for in those cases. But in our industry, it's more going to be at the client level because we need these guys physically to build the machines, to service them, to train people on them. And we've done certain things in the past where we've had instructional videos that have been sort of leading into the AI direction where, hey, I have a problem. Let me search this question. And then on our software, a previous version, it would give you a video of a how to. Now, that would be something that would be more inclined to what we do, but it's more on the client side, I would say, than us.
Got it. Got it. Very, very interesting. So, we've touched on a lot of things. The manufacturing world is fascinating to me because, like we were talking about earlier, I think it's as we bring things back here, it's going to become more and more important than ever. And I feel like that it's an industry that, just like you said, there was some stagnation in a bunch of areas. And I feel like as it comes back, and with some of the policies that are being put in place, it could be have a revitalization, right? Because listen, one of the cool things about AI is that it's helping people design new things faster, and someone's got to build them. So I really am hopeful that we do a lot more American-made stuff, and we're gonna see that boom, and that should be good for Omega.
Absolutely. We started to see it, ironically, right after the election last year. Now, end of the year usually coincides with an influx of orders as well because people have to close up their budgets. They have excess cash they need to spend, whatnot. And that's fine. But what we did not realize was the speed at which people were going to start investing and making that jump. There was a lot of confidence that you saw in just the general public and even the operators all the way up to the board level saying, hey, we're seeing some good things. Now, what we're seeing currently in the marketplace is just a disruption, correction. It's just the initial, oh my gosh, change is coming. That's all right. That's expected. We're going to need that. Anytime you see change, people kind of freak out. And that's all right. It's got to start somewhere. But just stick it out because at the end of the day, I feel more confident in the American marketplace than I do anywhere else in the world, knowing the stability and just the people and how we work compared to the European Union, China, India, Africa. We are just a different breed of people that you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah. No, it's exciting, and I agree with you. It's phenomenal. So Nick, last couple questions I was going to ask. What's something that you do personally with AI that or ChatGPT that helps make you more productive that you think other people might find interesting?
Sure. So a lot of times I will use ChatGPT if I am trying to understand a line of machining that I'm not privy to. So in the past, you can go to Google, you can go to YouTube, and you can get an instructional video. You can walk through it. I'm more of a reading at my pace kind of guy. So if you give me something, I can scroll through, get the hot pieces that I need off of it, and I can work off of that. go back later, do some more digging. So I like to use ChatGPT if I'm going into an application. For example, our company, we do not as much with lathe applications. So lathe tooling, static tooling, not as familiar in my wheelhouse. So usually before I'm going to talk to somebody where all they do is lathe tooling, well, tell me what kind of lathe you're using, and I'll ask ChatGPT, how are they manufacturing their parts using this lathe? And it'll explain to me what they're doing, how they're doing it, and now I have a better understanding, so I could be well versed going into it and a little bit more prepared. So I don't use it to necessarily get me to what next step I need to get to with what the customer needs product wise. I use it to understand what their application is. And that's in any industry. So I may be
But
going
that's
into
huge for sales.
aerospace and I need to do that too.
Yeah, but that's huge for pre-sales research. I mean, that's a
Of
great
course.
thing to do. I mean, you ask any salesman from 5 years and more ago, they would love to be able to do what we can do today with ChatGPT for that reason.
For sure. But I will warn and caution people to double check the work that ChatGPT gives you, because it is grabbing it from sources that may not always be vetted. So that's where I like it to get me to a starting point to see what direction I need to go into. A lot of the times it's spot on. Sometimes you might say, let me go look at where that source was and double check to make sure it's facts and opine are being separated, because sometimes they can be intertwined.
Yeah. So a couple of tips for you to try. So ChatGPT now has the deep research thing that's brand new, so you could try that.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
When you do that. And then the second one is, if you want to know all the sources, Perplexity is a great tool for similar to ChatGPT, but it will validate and tell you all the sources it pulled from, and that might even be better. Yeah,
I actually like Perplexity is what it's called.
Yeah, Perplexity. Yeah. Again, this will all be, these kind of tips are all going to be coming out from our weekly updates. The last thing I was going to say is, you guys are in a pretty good, healthy growth spot, right? You probably set your goals, right? What would be the biggest challenge? Like if I gave you a magic wand, you say, hey, I would get that hurdle out so you could, exceed your growth goals you set out for yourself for the next 12 months. What would you use the magic wand for?
I would use the magic wand on people's anxiety, because right now we have a lot of anxious people that when you're scared or you don't know, you tend to not do anything and you tend to wait.
Yeah, you kind of get paralyzed, right?
Yes, it's a chill factor it's a chilling effect that goes across the industry, where if you see, for example, the way China works with manufacturing is Foxconn Industries, who makes all of Apple products, they're kind of the staple over there. If Foxconn has certain technologies, all the companies around Foxconn are going to say, I need that just because Foxconn has it. I don't know if I need it or not, but I want what they do. So they kind of set the standard. That's what we're trying to do too, is we're trying to set the standard of, hey, you don't need to be too worried about all that stuff. It's all going to blow over. It's all semantics. At the end of the day, we're in a good spot. Trust America.
Yeah, I totally agree. But hey, listen, Nick, thank you for spending the time with us. This has been really eye-opening, and I want to get the manufacturing message out there more than ever, because I agree with you. I feel like we're ready for a boom, and I want to make sure that other people are hearing it and seeing tools like Omega that can make the manufacturing process that much more efficient. And it's just amazing some of the tools that I see that you guys have in your line. So thank you for spending the time and sharing your insights with us.
I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that wraps up this episode of the Future Proof Podcast, but we'll have all the links to Omega. And Nick, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way?
Easiest way to get in touch with us is to go to omegatmm.com. That's Omega, spelled exactly how it is, with TMM, short for tool measuring machines. We have all of our products on there. You can reach out to us on there too, depending on where you are. All of our information's there, all of our product line. If you want to reach out to me directly, all my information's there too. I'd be happy to set up something like this to walk through exactly how we can help you.
Awesome. And all those links will be below this when we go live here. So thanks, Nick, and thanks for everybody for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.